anytime I need it. Next thing is a loop. Now a loop is strictly to magnify your print image, okay? To look for registration flaws, to look for print flaws, to look for different characteristics that might lead to a problem as the run starts. A loop is simply designed as such. It folds up, and there are many types of loops. There are lighted loops. There are just a number of magnification pieces. Simple loop like this from Rotometrics, you can get them probably free if you're a customer of theirs, will do wonders. And every pressman should have one at all times. They need to know how to utilize it. They need to know how to use it. Simply put, fold it to where it reads as such. You've got numbers on this bottom part. When it folds, it makes a perfect. With that writing there, you know for a fact it's right. Set it on top of your product and then adjust your eye vision to where it sees right. This is a vital part of equipment that every operator and rewinder should have at all times. Next thing, of course, is I'm going to need 3 pieces of writing utensils. First, a pen, because I need to fill out my job jacket, my work forms, my production reports. Second is a black Sharpie magic marker. This black Sharpie marker is used for one thing really for us, and that is for plate lift. When a plate starts to lift off of a cylinder, you can put the black Sharpie magic marker right on the edge where it's lifting. Blow it dry. Make sure it's real good and dry, because this is a permanent marker. This sticks to whatever you write on. When you put it on the back of that plate and it dries, it's cured to that plate. What that then does is when you apply that back down to your sticky back, it makes a permanent bond there also. If you get into the routine where you're not cleaning your plates and you don't run old plates and things of this nature, you probably won't use a Sharpie too much. Another thing is if you're running cylinders, like on my 10-inch press, I will not run a cylinder smaller than 60 tooth. Simply because the diameter is too small. And I'll see people all the time trying to run a solid around a 48 tooth print cylinder. You'll definitely need this magic marker for that. But one further than that, if you're running a 10-inch press and even 7-inch, get good size cylinders. Start off with a cylinder, minimum 60 tooth. Our favorite run size we try to fall in between is 80 and 120 tooth. It seems like we get a better print quality, we get less chatter, we get more definition in our color, our distortion rate's a little bit less, our dot gain's a little bit less, so it really helps to go on a bigger cylinder, and you won't need this Sharpie pen as much. But remember, the Sharpie should be used only for holding plates down. And then the last thing we have here that we need all the time is a magic marker also, but this is a highlighter, and it don't matter if it's orange, green, purple, yellow, the color just don't matter. What we use the highlighter for here, of course, is marking product. You can highlight certain areas on the job jacket and then make a copy of it, and that does not show up. Of course, all of you know that. But more than anything, we use it on our plate mounting, and you'll see that when we get to plate mounting. We like to, where our tape, plate mounting tape comes together, there's a seam. And if you lay a plate on there and you don't get it straight and you start to pull it up, well, that seam allows the tape to come up. This here deadens the adhesive. It works just the opposite of what the Sharpie does. It deadens the adhesive across there, so you can reposition a plate a couple of times and not mess up your plate mounting tape. The key thing to this, though, is make sure you don't have it on the edges of your plate, because it will not stick wherever this is. And if you have these utensils with you at all times, you're pretty well prepared. As a supervisor / manager, I often will ask my pressmen where such and such is or where this is, just so that they know I expect them to have it, but more than that, just so that I know that they're keeping organized enough to where I can walk up and ask for it. I also do that with tools. I think it's important that people know that you expect them to keep up with these items. But if you get your pressmen set up like this, I think they've got what they need as personal items to run the press. And tools and things of that nature we'll be going into very shortly and show you what we feel is a necessity in that area. But for now, I think if you get your pressman set up as I am currently, you'll be successful and your production rate should go up. All right, what we like to do now is just kind of give you some general flexo knowledge. Some of the things that you're going to need, this is some training that you might want to give a new personnel to kind of get them familiar with some of the terminology and different things that you're going to see in your plant. First thing I want to cover is our cores. And believe it or not, you'd be surprised how many people take our intro level class and don't know what a core is. The core simply is what we rewind our finished product to so that it carries the finished product that's in a roll direction to the plant so it can be applied to the materials that it's going to be applied to. Cores can be plastic, cardboard, they come in different thicknesses. Generally, you'll get one size in your shop thickness-wise and then multiple cuts. Some people choose to cut their own cores down. Me personally, I see much more of a benefit buying them pre-cut. This is a 2-inch core by 3-inch ID. And what we basically mean here is that this core is 2 inches wide and it has a 3-inch inner diameter. ID simply means inner diameter, OD simply means outside diameter. Get familiar knowing your cores. Make sure that you don't mix them up. Sometimes you'll have to rewind to a 1-inch OD or ID. So make sure that you understand what cores are and what they're used for. Next thing I want to discuss with you is what we call repeat. Repeat is simply the distance between one image to the next, okay? What we're going to talk about now is image to image of our repeat. When you're printing a project, such as the project I have here before me, this plate is designed 2 across and 3 around. When I'm printing this project, it's important that I print same repeat to same repeat, meaning my first plate prints on the first plate on all the colors. If my first plate right here, this being the first plate, on my black prints on the second plate of my yellow, it probably won't register right. Many times in many shops you'll see people having 2 of them in and 1 of them out or something of that nature. The majority of the time that is caused strictly from your repeat matching up image to image. And one of the easiest ways is you can tell on this product here, we have a crack between each of our images. The easiest way that you can tell image to image or first print to first print is simply going by your bears. Where your bears are cut, see where your image is separated and then your bears cut? Well, your image is separated here, but your bear is not cut. So if you go to where your bears actually cut, and we call that the gap, pressman, and match gap to gap, you'll always know that you're repeat to repeat, and that is very important if you plan to register quality work together. One of the things you heard me talking about just then was our bears and gap to gap. Bears are simply what I call tires. They keep rubber to the road all the time. When you're printing an image wrapped around a round cylinder, and that image is rolling, and it don't have solid rubber on each side, it's going to bounce, boom, 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 boom. What bears does is it keeps rubber on the road all the time. It eliminates bounce, and it also provides a unique and good place to put registration marks. With your bears, you should have registration marks on both ends of the plate and in the middle of the plate, just like you see here. Also in these bears, we indicate the color, the serial number of the plate, and a lot of other registration marks, all with crosshairs. This is the proper way to design a bear. I don't care if you're running a 1-color job or a 10-color job. You need to run bears. One of the most unique things about bears that provide for a pressman that most people don't see, but I see all the time, is that if you run bears properly, you're going to give them enough stock on each side of the press to strip the job successfully. And that's a key critical thing. Each side of the outside of your die, you need at least a 1/4 inch of stock. If you have bears, you'll have that 1/4 inch of stock. and your job will run more efficient and waste-free. When you start skimping on the width of the stock you're running on, definitely your production time and your waste factor goes up. So these are critical things that are all tied into this one issue. Next thing I want to talk about is a couple of terminologies you're going to learn. First one is die cut, second one is butt cut. What a die cut simply means is the image that is actually cut out of the product by the tooling or die. As you can see here, this is die cut. We're stripping a 1/4 inch and an 1/8 inch. So we know that that product has been die cut because it has stripping and a designed label, rounded corner label at the finished product. As compared to a butt cut, it's simply one straight edge cut, no stripping anywhere, with square corners. So it will always create a square. Both die cut and butt cut are cutting to a liner. When you talk about a metal to metal cut or a sheeted cut, that means you're cutting all the way through the liner. So a product such as this right here, if it was metal to metal, instead of cutting to the liner, we'd have a handful of cards, which would be sheeted product such as this. This is metal to metal die cut sheeted product. So it comes in a format of sheets instead of on a roll. These are the different types of die cuts you're going to see in the flexo industry, and that's the terminology that we use. All right, a couple of more terminologies we're going to talk about real quick. One is pressure sensitive and one is card stock. Pressure sensitive simply means it can be applied by pressure. Most or all pressure sensitive materials will need a liner. The liner is simply the carrier of the material of the pressure sensitive. And this here has an adhesive on it, and it can be applied simply by pressure, okay? The face stock is the pressure sensitive portion. The liner is the carrier. And when they talk about a carrier width, that means the finished product's liner width will be the carrier width of the final product. The other thing we have, card stock. Card stock has no liner. It has no pressure sensitive adhesive on it. This material generally is used as hang tags, pricing tags, things in the clothing industry. Card stock's also familiarly used in blister packing, different substrates of that nature. But card stock won't have a liner. And this here is a C1S, meaning it's coated one side. And the product we're holding here is a 10-point, and that is strictly the thickness of it. It's a 10-point card stock. On our press, we run up to about 14-point. But the two main differences is pressure sensitive is applied by pressure and has a liner. Card stock has no liner. And most all products that are cut on, or all products that are cut on card stock will be done metal to metal because there's nothing to cut to. One more stock product that's going to be pretty familiar is lamination. Lamination is, as we know it, is just basically a clear film. This is a pressure sensitive, self-wound. It has no liner. This is a matte lamination. This is used to protect the product so it don't get scratched, scuffed, or whatever the case may be. One of the familiar terminologies you'll hear people talk about when they're talking about lamination is fish-eye. Self-wound lamination will fish-eye a little bit. 99.9% of the time it goes away overnight. The company we use, STA Industries, makes the lamination. We don't get fish eyes on it at all. It lays down clear, so I don't really know what they're doing, but it's a product that we feel very comfortable in using and knowing that the fish eyes aren't going to be there. But lamination, here again, is a clear poly material that's used for protection. Don't confuse it with laminating. Laminating is when you marry two or more products together, and the process of laminating is a process. Lamination is a material. So be sure you understand them two differences. All right, the next term